This is Hospitality and Politics, powered by the New York City Hospitality Alliance. I am Andrew Ridgie, and I haven't been sitting here for a little while, so I'm very excited to be back in the studio, and even more excited to be with my friend Jonathan Forgash of Queens Together.
How are you?
I'm doing. How about you?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Good. Yeah. Like I said, I was in DC doing some immigration advocacy for work authorization and trying to get some, support for so many folks and families who are the backbone of our industry, the restaurant industry, and so many other sectors, and Puerto Rico for the Somos conference.
Yep.
So it's been like a whirlwind, and I don't know, I was just like happy to come back here. And then I was like, oh, and Jonathan's going to be on today, and there's so many good things to talk about.
Yep.
You do so much good work. So, I have a million questions, and we're going to cover a lot of ground, but can you just tell us what the organization Queens Together is, and then we'll get into some of the history and what you've done.
All right. So at the most basic level, Queens Together is two things. We support the mom and pop restaurants of Queens to help them do better in business, and we partner with them to do food relief across the borough when it's needed.
Wow. That's like a really good elevator pitch. You get
Thank you.
people in and out before you get to the next floor. All right. So that's true. And it's also, modest. I have to say, I've said this to you before, and I really mean it. Like, you are just such a good person, and it's such a great thing for me to have become what I think a good friend of each other's, and to see the work that you do, especially during the pandemic.
Yep.
We remember the food lines, people desperately needed food, our local restaurants, those small businesses, particularly those in the borough of Queens, real small mom and pop, immigrant, family-owned businesses were just losing everything. And you came in with Queens Together, and you did remarkable work by supporting local restaurants and helping purchase meals from them, having them delivered, and feed folks at community centers, kids, seniors, everyone in between. And it was such remarkable work. And I just wanted to commend you for it.
Thank you.
People always say, oh, good job. But I wanted to formally say here on the record how great the work was. So how did that even start? Like, how did you get into a position, and we'll get back to the original history, but during the pandemic, like everything closed down.
Yeah.
And what were you doing, and how did you mobilize your world to help these local restaurants and help feed people?
So right up until COVID shut down New York, I was between Food World and Queens Together. I was doing sales and project management for a construction company. And whatever that day was that the governor shut down New York, we all went remote. My wife went remote from teaching. My son went remote from school. And there we are sitting around the kitchen table. And my wife and I are hearing from all of our friends and restaurant owners in all across Queens. We live in Astoria. We have neighbors that were working at Elmhurst Hospital. So we knew what was happening. We heard the sirens.
And Elmhurst Hospital was
ground zero for the COVID pandemic in New York.
Yeah.
It all spread from there. So I also live by Mount Sinai Hospital in Astoria. Devastated, the hospital staff being hurt, those trucks outside in the streets. It was bad. But we're hearing the news from our friends in the industry. We could see it. Everyone's shutting down. I am not a man to sit still. I couldn't sit still. And we started thinking what could we do? And just as we were starting up, the idea of raising money on social media to pay restaurants to do food relief, first meals at the hospitals. And then, we pivoted to people at home who were sick, out of work. We just saw that you can only do so much on your own from a kitchen table. And it really became an opportunity for people. Partnerships, relationships is what we formed. I mean, I don't know what to say. It was such a blur at the time. We were putting out fires for the first few years of COVID. But I mean, what ended up happening by the time COVID was going away, and I'll go back to the meat of it, but by the time COVID was done, we had helped feed over 500,000 people in the borough of Queens, all through partnerships with these mom and pop restaurants, community-based organizations, houses of worship, elected officials, volunteers, donors, sponsors, corporate partners. All the different facets of the community came together to do what was needed. And I know our good friend Loy at Near's Tavern talks about community conquers all. What I've been saying for a long time is community can do anything. We can solve our problems. We can take care of each other. And we did. So how do you do that from a kitchen table when the world is shut down and you can't even see each other in person?
So you're in your apartment, you're talking with restaurateurs, you're seeing the obvious crisis going on, you know people need food. So what's the first move?
First move is, well, we were on this national call with some other group that was starting up this system. And where are we going to find kitchens? And should Uber do the distribution? And who's going to handle the boots on the ground networking to decide who should get fed? And I'm thinking like, this is ridiculous. We have everything we need. So we got off of that situation and we just blew it up. We set up an Instagram page. A web designer came out of the blue. I'll design a website for you. Why are you on GoFundMe? I'll give you your own GoFundMe software and it's free.
So you started raising money.
We started raising money via social media donation page. And the money started rolling in. So one of our very first restaurants that we worked with was the Queensboro restaurant in Jackson Heights.
They have truly been heroes throughout the process, and they do so much incredible community work.
Something that most people don't know is I knew them because in 2018, I was asked to help raise money for this group that was getting the moms out of the detention camps in Arizona and reconnecting them with their babies at an orphanage in the Bronx. Wow. This is during the first Trump term. And we did this food hall fundraiser. I asked all these restaurants blindly to come help, and they did. And the Queensboro had only been open a very short period of time. I didn't know this. Get Dudley on the phone, one of the partners, and I'm like, hey man, this is the deal. We need you. And he's like, absolutely. So they've been doing community service work with me since 2018. Right. We gave the Queensboro a chunk of money. They turned around. They made meals for the doctors, nurses, frontline workers at Elmhurst Hospital, and we were up and running. Zab and Elmhurst, another one of our major partners. They took on thousands of meals from us.
So these neighborhood small restaurants basically relied in a significant part to money from Queens Together to keep them open, preparing meals.
Well, there was more to it than that. So the promise was, we're going to help you stay open. I can't afford to give you full price. So give me a price per meal that you can do where you're going to make some money. And in addition to that, we are going to promote you as the heroes in our community doing this work. So when people come out of COVID, when people can start going out for meals or ordering in, which they could do, we figured they would go to the restaurants that were doing the real work.
Yeah.
So we gave them promotion. And then we started setting up these things like, well, you can't go out. So we're going to set up a home cooked meal kit that you can get from Nick's Tamal, the Queensboro, some other restaurants, and they would get delivered to your home. So we set up this delivery service. We set up all these different ways for the restaurants to not thrive, but to get by during COVID, keep some employees working, pay their bills. I mean, you still got to pay your bills.
Yeah.
And that was the model that we've stuck to ever since.
So how did you identify, obviously I know you're in the industry, so you know the restaurants, but how did you really identify the restaurants that you were going to partner with? I mean, the one thing that I found being adjacent and working in some of this food relief is that, you know, on the face, it sounds like, okay, we're just going to get some meals and we're going to feed people. But it is a lot more complicated than that, depending on the type of cuisine. Obviously, Queens is such a diverse borough, so you also want to be able to provide, in many cases, culturally appropriate food, making sure it's getting to the right place at the right time.
Right.
Obviously, we're in the middle of a pandemic, so even how do you get people together to prepare it in cars, dropping it off either at home or community centers? Like, where did you identify, I guess, the restaurants would be the first question.
Well, there's two sides.
They'd be good partners.
On one hand, there were the big guys, the Queensboro, Zab. We knew they could do big numbers. But a lot of restaurants couldn't. So we would come to a restaurant, hey, we heard you're open. Do you want to do this? How many meals could you handle at a time? Some said 25, some said 500. So that was one rule. You never wanted to break the back of the restaurant. We gave them as much as they could handle to bring in some money and do what they had to do. Two, once you're promoting on Instagram, restaurant owners are seeing what's going on and they were reaching out to us. Hey, can we help? We need money. Absolutely. And then how do you figure out where the meals need to go? Well, we started partnering with community groups, houses of worship, cultural groups, the Tibetan community of New York and New Jersey, First Baptist Church of East Elmhurst, Rehoboth Church of I think St. Albans. And They know their communities. I live in Astoria. I don't know St. Albans. So the church said, well, we have, 500 people that need meals. What can you do? I'm like, well, we're going to find a restaurant in your community, or 2 or 3 or 5, and we will pay them to deliver the meals to your church during food pantry hours. So we had the meals, we had the distribution, we had the people to receive it, and they knew where it went. It seemed pretty seamless to me, and that's the system we've stuck with.
That's great. What's your background as a chef? Talk about that, because I think that probably also played a role into your success. You're connected to the food and the industry a bit, but you cook.
Yeah, I cook. It was not a normal path. I think a lot of chefs can say that. So I was 25 and I was doing business, sales, and marketing. I wasn't loving it. I was always that guy that cooked for friends, family, dinner parties, And a buddy of mine from childhood had been assisting a fashion photographer in New York City for some years. And he called out of the blue and said, hey man, we just fired this caterer. You're going to do this job for me next week, and you're going to feed like a dozen Vogue models on this photo shoot. I'm like, what? He's like, I know you can do it. We really need you. You hate your job. Come on. So I did it. I called in sick, did a 2-day catering job at the old Industria Studios, by Tortilla Flats. And at the end of that 2 days, the photographer says, that was really great. Can you come back next week? So this started this whole line of calling in sick, taking on jobs, getting more and more calls in the fashion world. And about 6 months in, my boss at my regular job calls me in and says, hey man, you call out sick, you come in smiling. I know what you're doing. I'm going to fire you so you can get unemployment while you start this new career of yours. Good luck.
Wow.
I'm like, wow. So between this friend giving me this opportunity of a lifetime and this boss being a really decent person, got me my start. And so this is the early 90s.
Do you only cook for models or?
Then yes. Then yes. And I really looked out, like there are some big names in the industry. Patrick DeMarcier is this amazing photographer, international. So when I was working for him, you're working for some pretty big names. So how exciting, right? You're young, you're a chef. I wasn't even calling myself a chef, but you're working with really big celebrities, really big photographers, really beautiful models. And one thing led to another. I started doing commercials. I did a lot of those old hip hop videos out of the 90s, got to work with a lot of great people. And then 2 big things happened. Right around 1999, I got a call from a producer at the Food Network. We're done with this caterer we've been using for a while. We've been hearing about you. Do you want to come cater like 3 months of Emeril Lagasse? Now, coming from photo, fashion, and music videos, 2-3 day jobs, 3 months of work being offered to you between Christmas and New Year's, I thought was a joke. And I actually got off the phone. And she called back, this woman, Diana, called back and said, is this Jonathan Forgash? I'm like, yeah. She's like, this is for real. Don't hang up. And so, so I catered the majority of the shows taped at the old Food Network studio, and then down at Chelsea Market for at least 3 years.
Wow.
And that was amazing. So I got to cook for Emeril and Wolfgang Puck and Bobby Flay and get to watch from behind the scenes. And it was exciting,
Very cool. So what led to the formation of Queens Together, which started right before the pandemic? Or
Yeah. So I did the film catering, fashion TV catering for about 25 years. And by the time we were done, we had those big catering trucks and we were doing up to 3 TV shows or movies at a time. And it was exhausting. And now I'm in my late 40s, have a family, and we decided we're done. And I closed the business. And I did some other things, but I had always had it in the back of my mind that my friends in the restaurant industry were always too busy to really look up from behind their cutting board, the register, cleaning out the toilet, whatever they had to do, to see the opportunities from government, no advocacy, no real support. How do you tell the difference between a sleazy salesperson and a good product coming in the door? And I had wanted to start like the first mom and pop restaurant association with some other people. And we were all set to do that. We're coming into the winter of 19, into 2020. We're going to do this in the summer of 2020. And then boom. So like I said, I was doing sales and project management for this construction company when the world went to shit and we all went home and we decided let's not do the association. let's do the immediate thing, which is helping restaurants get through this and feed people.
So let me ask you, because I've spoken, I think in the past like week or so, probably 3 different people who were all forming some sort of small local association, charitable organization. And they formed for, different reasons. One of them did come out of the pandemic. Another one kind of predated the pandemic. But I think similar to what you're saying with Queens Together, the pandemic struck, they pivoted, and now they're continuing to work in this new capacity. So if you're not a big nonprofit organization or big company, what are you doing now that the pandemic thankfully is over to kind of sustain Queens Together? Are there other types of programming that you're doing, to keep the organization going, fulfill your mission, maybe expand it, obviously have money come in to the organization to power you? What's the roadmap?
So the fires are out. We were done putting out fires and taking care of the day-to-day emergencies of COVID. But the systems proved effective.
Yeah.
So we've solidified these systems. Now we're advocates for these restaurants. I get calls all the time, health department, Con Edison, building department, all kinds of issues. And we advocate. So I talk to our friends at SBS, sometimes
Department
the mayor's
of Small Business Services.
Thank you. Yes. Speaking of that, so one of our new roles is we were assigned a grant to do merchant organizing in Elmhurst, Queens.
Fantastic. So you got it.
Right. That's right. You gave us a reference letter.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. So Elmhurst, Queens, the little brother neighborhood to Jackson Heights, the world famous, most, diverse neighborhood in the world. Well, what I'm discovering is maybe not. Elmhurst never had merchant organizing, never had a bid. There's never been an organized effort to see what we have there. And after 4 months now of working in Elmhurst, it's pretty diverse. We have amazing restaurants, over 12 countries represented just in Elmhurst alone and counting. And what we're giving these people is advocacy. We're showing that if we come together, there's power in numbers. We can get a police captain to sit down and talk about the problems. Department of Sanitation, someone from the mayor's office, Manny Castro, the immigration commissioner, came out to see us. And that's really what we're doing. We're showing people that there's power in numbers for advocacy, for promotion. Right? Promotion is expensive. Advertising is expensive, but if we come together, it's affordable.
So how are you even connecting with the businesses? I know that I think it was the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce had put out some reports some years ago, and it showed that neighborhoods that had a business improvement district or a merchant association fare much better during crises like the pandemic, but facing other challenges because they have, I guess, resource. You mentioned bringing the local police captain out there. I presume that's because there are some concerns or issues with public safety or crime.
Yes.
Obviously, immigration's a big issue. So having an immigration commissioner or these other agencies. So I think if you speak with small business owners, these are all the issues they're juggling on a day-to-day basis. But how do you reach them with this grant to say, hey, we need to organize and here's what we can do for you?
I think the reason we got the grant, I'm not sure who else was trying for it, is because of our connections, our relationships made during COVID. When you work with different cultural groups and business groups to feed people, their families, their neighbors, at the worst of times, you've formed friendships, almost like family. So when Queens Together walks around Elmhurst or whatever neighborhood we're in doing our work, we have this trust. We can point to that minister, that imam, that cultural group, and they'll tell you what we did.
Yeah.
So it helps. I mean, look at me. Do I look like the average business owner on Roosevelt Avenue? No. But when you walk into a business with a trusted stakeholder from their community to say this group can help, people will listen and people will join.
Well, I think it's that boots on the ground strategy of being out there, building the roots in the community, getting to know people. So grants are great. What about events? How do you just sustain the operations and I guess kind of stay, I don't know if stay relevant is the right way to describe it, but how do you stay present to make sure that people know Queens Together is still around and, we're out there helping merchants and we're helping feed people?
Well, it turns out that we really like doing events, promotion, advertising. We created a newsletter, the Eats in Queens newsletter. We like to think of it as the Eater of Queensboro, New York. So we talk about the food and culture scene of Queens, which is really incredible and delicious and exciting. It is sort of undiscovered country for a lot of New Yorkers. They don't really know about Elmhurst, but man, when they do, they're going to come running because it's phenomenal. So the newsletter helps us stay relevant, keeps us in the public eye.
How do you sign up for the newsletter?
Go to queenstogether.org, and there's somewhere up top it says subscribe, and you're signed up for the newsletter. It comes out every Thursday. Because of the merchant organizing grant, once a month, I write a column called Eye on Elmhurst. We feature something. So we have an article coming out soon that's going to feature like where to find steak, the best steak in Elmhurst. We have a number of places that are really exceptional. Some have been around for decades. Events, right? So this year we have our 4th annual International Food Expo.
I love that event.
It's a lot of fun. This is going to be on December 8th at the New York Hall of Science, sponsored by Champlain Hudson Power Express. I have to give them a plug. They have been our biggest supporter since the beginning of COVID. They're really dear friends and they do good work.
So I know because I've been to this event, and I think it's like my daughter's favorite. She loves one of the places comes with the bubble tea, and she's like still talks about it around.
Yeah, so that was
the whole year.
That was Tea and Milk. Multiple locations, but they're by me in Astoria, and they were there. So this year we expect about 40 restaurants, food vendors, some drink vendors. New Year's Tavern is the official bar. Alewife is the official beer, and Queensy is the official canned cocktail. But between all these restaurants and vendors, we have about 20 plus countries or cuisines, regional cuisines represented. So on one night, you can try all this food. You get to walk around, sample all these different things, meet the chefs. And more importantly, the restaurants that are attending and participating at this expo are the very same people that we partner with to do food relief. So these restaurants aren't just there to get your attention. Hopefully you'll come spend money at their businesses. They are there to help us raise money for food relief.
Nice. It's such a cool event. I mean, just trying to even paint a picture for like the Queens Hall of Science. You walk in, there's cool things that you kind of look at, and you walk in, and then you walk down, and there are just so many kiosks of these different restaurants. And I think one of the things that is so amazing about, I go to tons of, food events, is the diversity of Queens and the diversity of cuisines, that's a tongue twister, that are represented at the event. And what's also cool is like the people who are working them, are like the owners, and a lot of them are families. And so it's like their kids are there, and there's something that is just truly, authentic about it. And I think it does differ from other, food events out there in a really nice, unique way. It's very just Queens. I don't know how else to.
It is very Queens, isn't it? It's very community based. And then the other side of it is the people that are attending this event tend to be our past donors, people that have attended prior events. So everyone coming out is there for a good cause, a really good time. I know that we have offices kind of coming out and doing this as like their little holiday party, bringing a whole group of people. It's indoors at the Hall of Science. So if you've been there with your family in the past, it's a big, beautiful space. So I will say there's free parking. It's $100 a ticket. It gets you free samples of food and drink all night long. There's a live band. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So I know. I love the event. So what else? So let's just talk about restaurants. Let's go. We're talking about some like serious stuff now, but this is serious, but a little bit more fun. So we're talking about all the amazing restaurants in Queens and everything, just because obviously if the work that you do, you get out to all these places. Do you have a couple favorite, I don't know, I hate even saying favorite. Do you have a couple go-to restaurants when you and your wife or friends are just like, I want to go out for whatever cuisine, like where do you go for a really
I can't. That's okay.
And it doesn't mean that you don't go to the other places, but it's like.
So that's really tough. If you go to Little Thailand Way in Elmhurst, right, there's 8 Thai restaurants on 2 blocks. 2 that stand out right now is Huggy-san, and they'll be at the expo, by the way. It's this little charming restaurant that does Isan, and it was the first one on the street. And highly recommend it. Okay. Zab Zab is another one, Michelin rated, James Beard Award, phenomenal restaurant. Those 2. If you go over to Baxter Avenue, in Elmhurst, there's Louis Pizza. one of the best slices. And, Queens has really good pizza, but Louis does a grandma slice. It's phenomenal. Something people often don't know is that the father comes from 50 years of chefing at Italian restaurants in the city. So they do homemade pastas. Phenomenal. Sammy's in Astoria is Afghani food.
Yes.
The Monty, Sabzi, the skewers, the braised lamb. And that man did so much food relief work with us during COVID. The man is a saint.
Wow.
There's a place that is really, you have to know about it, called Triskel Cafe. Okay. It's on 36th Avenue in Astoria. Chef Philippe is from Brittany. And it's a little 16-seat restaurant. It's a really nice little date spot. It's not loud, quiet, nice place to go with your wife or whoever for a meal.
Very nice. That all sounds so good.
Yeah.
When you go into a restaurant, because you come from the business, you obviously do all this work with Queens together. I'm always interested of what do industry people look for when they go out to a restaurant? Okay. What things do you appreciate?
A clean dining room, a really clean bathroom, wait staff that is attentive and not just standing back behind the bar or whatever on their phones. I get it. Wait staff is young, but restaurants are all about hospitality. It's about taking care of the customer. People come in your front door, hospitality, a good meal, good service. Doesn't mean it has to be formal, but it's generosity and hospitality. That's the spirit. So I look for that. I often like to sit with my back to the wall and observe the room. So I love that when the waitstaff is really anticipating your needs without bothering you. Yeah. That's it. And, of course, is the food good? Is everyone getting served around the same time? But really, if you're in a place and it's busy and there's a buzz and you can get that vibe that people are happy, that's a sign to go back.
Yeah. No, it's that feeling. I was saying to someone earlier too, there's great food, there's great service, there's great hospitality, and truly great restaurants, they give you a feeling. Yeah. There's just some feeling and some experience that you walk away with. And I think that's kind of at the core of what a good restaurant is. It awakens all of your different senses.
Yep.
And gives you a wonderful experience in whatever context you're there, with a significant other, with friends, in a business meeting. And I think, Queens has so much of that. What about other stuff? You mentioned the community centers and, the work that you've been doing, but how do you just characterize, I guess, the state of the restaurant industry in Queens right now as we come out of the pandemic? I always feel this stuff, there's winners and losers, right, so to speak, where some places are, busy all the time. They still may have challenges because the cost is so much, but other places, business never fully came back. What are you seeing the state of the restaurant industry in Queens? And just because there are so many different neighborhoods too.
Compared to Manhattan, it's not as much, but I believe Queens, the estimate is 6,000 restaurants, mobile street vendors, bodegas, cafes, whatever. It's a lot. Everyone talks about COVID being over, food lines going away, restaurants bouncing back. I really see it as still very dire. Restaurants are closing. I know restaurants are flipping like mad. There's always a new place opening, God bless them. But times are really tough. Labor's going up. Costs of products and food have not come down. So supply chains are really off. Insurance, right? Liability insurance through the roof. We just read about it. Some of the best run restaurants in Queens are having serious problems. And when that's the case, that means there's thousands of others that are having problems. So I still think we're still in a rough place. I'm afraid if the economy continues to slide, it's going to get worse. So I know that sounds really dire and awful.
Yeah.
But what we can do is continue to support our restaurants, not just people like you and me and our organizations, but people at home. Go to the restaurants, order directly from their websites, go spend money there. And, David Chang gave an interview maybe in the past year, and he talks about what you can do. And one thing he said that I really liked was pick 3, maybe 5 restaurants in your neighborhood and really dedicate yourself to giving them your business. And if you do that, and enough other people do more, then you're going to make a difference.
So true. There's so many restaurants that are true neighborhood restaurants, and they sustain themselves by people from the neighborhood going and dining out. And
Yep.
I think for various reasons, obviously just the cost of living and the cost of running a business has required prices to increase. And just also the sheer number of restaurants, there's lots of options, make it more and more difficult to be that neighborhood restaurant where your customers go frequently, sometimes even a few times a week. So I think that's a great message to give to people if they really want to help, even if it's one or two restaurants, in your neighborhood, to kind of make it your regular go-to spot, because that's what they rely on. So I know you're not a political organization and you're a charitable organization. And clearly, like you just said, people can go out and find a neighborhood restaurant and continue to go there and support them and, order directly from them, go dine there, bring people, tell people, post about it.
Yep.
But there's obviously also a role for government. And I feel like right now, Queens, again, not asking you to get overly political, but we have a mayor-elect in Zohran Mamdani, incoming mayor starting in the new year, other very high-profile people who've worked in restaurants like AOC.
Yep.
But others in Queens, there seems to be a real focus on the political world there.
Right.
So what's your message from a small business advocate perspective, a person who is focused on food relief, to our government officials? What can they be doing? What should they be doing to really support the small businesses and the people who need food?
Well, the easiest answer is, the mayor-elect just gave this BBC interview. You and I were both quoted in it. And he literally put his money where his mouth is. He named his favorite restaurants, where they are, what to get. Now, two of the restaurants were quoted as saying that really helped business. So yeah, you want to help business? You just talk about them. You talk about your favorite places. If you have a bullhorn and you have an audience, let them know where you like to eat. He was our assemblyman actually in Astoria. So the places he picked in our neighborhood, he was right. And the dishes he picked at those places.
Oh, yeah, that's what I want to say. The way that he was quoted or the way it was presented was, he didn't just mention a restaurant. He really spoke to, the individual dishes in a way that someone with a real sense of food and...
Right. So in that case, I don't think he was a politician. In that case, he was a guy, with a big bullhorn, was being asked what he liked to eat, and he knew it. It wasn't scripted. He knew the food he liked, and it was really obvious from what he said and the way he said it. I love it. We have a lot of politicians, a lot of leaders out there with big audiences. Start right there. Start telling people where to go eat.
That's why, listen, we have the New York City Hospitality Alliance District Dining Guide.
Right.
And every year we go to all of our elected officials, well, I should say our city council members, our citywide office holders, including the mayor. And we ask, again, not for a favorite restaurant because that would be too political.
Can't do that.
But to a go-to restaurant and a go-to dish at that restaurant in their district. And I am always so excited about seeing what they select because, at least in theory, and it has proven to be correct in so many of these submissions, many people grew up in these neighborhoods or lived there for years and they know every nook and cranny. So it's not always just the most popular restaurant, which is a great place you can go check out. It's sometimes that neighborhood place and that quick snack or something you pick up, when you're running in between meetings or you're running from the train or the bus going home. So you get these, gems. And I think that's a great message, just out there using your bullhorn to talk about small businesses.
Because why not? It's easy to do and you're supporting something you love. Now, on the politician side of it, there's a lot of things we need. We need help with the liability insurance. We need help with fines and fees. We need help constantly finding workers for our businesses, qualified workers. And I know there's workforce development programs and other things in place, and we're actually helping with that right now. But very often politicians don't come from business background. Fine. They have a job to do. So I think it's important for people like organizations like Queens Together, the Hospitality Alliance, to be able to speak to these leaders and let them know what our business owners need. In the case of Queens, we are majority single family, mom and pop business owners, many not even born here. So there's a language barrier, cultural barrier, just the general business barrier of maintaining a business in New York is so hard. And they need help. It costs a lot. The profit margins are really slim.
If you're making any profit at all.
Right. And very often, this is to put a roof over your head, give your kids a good schooling in a good school district, hopefully get them off to college, and just take care of your family, your employees, and with Queens Together, also taking care of neighbors in times of need.
Yeah.
So these are big stakeholders in the community. And I think they don't just deserve, but they should be listened to, because without a thriving, busy Main Street, that really can take down a whole neighborhood. So these small business owners, workers, neighbors, these are all partners that come together to support one another. And all politicians should be embracing that and coming out to listen to it.
Yeah. Amen.
Right?
Amen. So true. What have you learned personally, and how have you been affected or changed through the work you do? Because I have to imagine when you were out there, I mean, obviously throughout the pandemic, but day to day, you're just seeing the amount of hunger there is in New York City, in Queens, from kids to seniors. You speak with the businesses, many of which may be, facing their own challenges. It has an effect on you as a person, I have to imagine. Have you changed or learned things that have reshaped maybe things you had thought in the past that?
I think mostly I've just been humbled. Before this, I was a business person. I was a chef. I had my own family. I had my head down. I voted. I did really not much else on the community level before 2018. So the pandemic was really eye-opening. I just was giving out my personal number to thousands of people on the website, Instagram, and business cards from my prior job. So the world had my information. And we would get phone calls. A woman called who was a waitress at a Greek restaurant in Astoria. She knew I lived in the neighborhood. She'd been out of work for 2 weeks, and she had 2 boys, and she ran out of food. So my wife and I pulled out a credit card. We ordered from the City Fresh Market at the Bel Air Diner shopping center in Astoria. And we had a ton of groceries sent to our house. Sometime in the fall of 2020, when we were doing the USDA Farm to Family program and handing out all that food, we stopped finally. And I got a call in the middle of the day. Said, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me. I've got 2 boys. I was always seeing you online at your food pantry in Astoria. I have no food. And I have a job," and he starts crying.
Wow.
Now, I have a son, but I can't imagine what it would take, he was so desperate. And he's like, we have nothing, and he's crying, and what am I going to do? When are you going to be open again? I'm like, well, it's up to the government, and we'll do what we can. But, that's gut-wrenching. That's real, and that's raw, and that's what was happening to millions of people in this country. Yeah, that one really stuck with me.
Day to day. I mean, now with SNAP, and hopefully that's refunded, or the money's.
That's a whole other conversation. But I can say, for all of the horror, the silver lining, if you can call it that, of COVID, I haven't come up with a better phrase, is we couldn't have done that on our own. The hundreds of people that stepped up to donate, volunteer on the line, pre-vaccine, right? Just masks and gloves, handing out food to total strangers that were depending on us to feed them. The businesses that stepped up, the elected officials that stepped up, the friendships and family that I have made across all the communities of Queens is amazing. And I used to think as a chef that I took care of people by feeding people. Now I realized, no, it's you and the people around you. We help hundreds of others take care of thousands more. This is the job I'm going to retire into. This is the greatest thing I've ever done in my life. I don't want to stop. I will go out there every day. When you're a chef, you are killing yourself physically. This work, it's more mental. It's your mouth. It's talking on the phone. It's on the computer. It's brainstorming ideas, putting things into action really quickly, which is what chefs do.
Yeah.
So I think, and back to your question from before, I think my skills as a chef and a caterer for the film industry, where your day and crew count changed every 12 hours. You would wake up and find out it's a whole new day ahead and you're not prepared. You had to make it work. And I think that really made it possible for me to do what we did with Queens Together.
What's next for Queens Together?
Well, we're doing this merchant organizing in Elmhurst. I expect next year we'll be doing another neighborhood on top of that. I've been getting called on to mentor and teach what we did, how we were successfully getting grants, city, state, federal, and corporate, philanthropic, how we made these steps, like going from a kitchen table to being a nonprofit and running a successful community-based organization. So I would like to offer that up to anyone who wants it, any person, any organization.
So write a book.
I don't have, also being a chef, I'm more ADHD than scholarly.
Voice memos.
Maybe there's an assistant out there or there's a writer that wants to work with me, but
Ghostwriter.
A ghostwriter. I really like that idea of backroom union organizing. I like sitting at a table with a bunch of people or in a room, not behind a lectern, sitting and talking and sharing ideas. Because as we learned during COVID, a bunch of people throwing ideas against the wall, one's going to stick and we can make it work just like that.
So what's that? Do you have 3? I mean, I know, like we said in books, these things go chapter by chapter, but are there 2 or 3 points that you could share with people if they ask for your mentorship or your wisdom that you think are kind of top line tips that people should know? Yeah.
So if you're young, college, not college, 20s or 30s, and you see an opportunity, and if you think you can do it, and deep down you really wish you could do it and want to do it, do it. Take the leap, especially if you don't have a lot of things holding you back. Because if you don't take the leap when you're young for a really big opportunity, who knows what you're going to miss. And if you don't take the opportunity, you'll never know. So do it. Say yes to opportunity, especially if it's coming from people you trust and admire, which is what I did. And it changed my life.
Wow.
2 is don't be afraid of the paperwork, the nonprofit work, the grant writing. Grant writing, it turns out, is filling out forms, but it's really selling your story. There's a part in every grant where they want to know what you're going to do with this money. You tell them what you're going to do, not using AI, not using some grant writer who's doing the form for you, but you. Get it down on paper, get some help. It's that story that's going to get you that grant. $10,000, $50,000, $100,000, $1 million. That's what these people want to see, is a really beautiful, passionate story. Those are the things that come to mind right now.
That's beautiful.
All right.
And inspiring. All right. Last words of wisdom, things that you enjoy. I know obviously going out and eating at restaurants and doing all this work. What else do you do just for a peace of mind? What clears your mind? How do you, think on what you may do with Queens Together?
Bike riding. I got myself an e-bike in the middle of COVID. People see me all the time going to meetings. So from Astoria, I go to downtown Manhattan. I've biked out to Jamaica, Queens. Being on that bike, you don't have time. You can't be on the phone. Can't be on your computer. It is nothing but you and the traffic or the open road and the wind going through your hair, sort of. And time to think.
Through your beard.
Through my beard. Yeah, I really get a chance to think and just be. And it's made me so happy. The other thing we like doing in our family is traveling. We love traveling around the world. But something that I've been doing now that I do Queens Together is when I travel these past few years, I always find a person or an organization doing similar work, and I meet them. I don't interview them, but we have a meal. I tour their operation, and we talk and we learn from each other, and I get inspired. That also makes me really happy. There's so much to learn, always try to be the dumbest person in the room, ask questions, let people talk. You're always going to pick up a nugget that's worth $1 million.
Yeah, indeed. All right. So be the hype man for Queens. I mean, we talked about the great restaurants, but like what's some of your favorite things real quick?
Okay. So we have history, right? You bike to the World's Fairgrounds, right? The Queens Museum is there, the Hall of Science, Citi Field, tennis stadium. And then there's that big Unisphere in the middle. That is history. My parents went to that World's Fair when they first got married.
Wow.
And the one in the 60s. Okay, I'm going to be really honest. Queens is the ugliest borough, but the most beautiful in terms of people, and the cultures and all these people from all over the world living together. Now, there's a lot of places in the world where people are forced to live together and they kill each other.
Yeah.
So it's true. But in Queens, we're all living together because we all came here for a better life, in a better neighborhood, in a better place for our kids, and luckily enough, surrounded by the most amazing food. So people come to Queens for the food, or they're being probably led by someone who knows Queens for the food. And then once you, like if you're on that 7 train, you come out from, you come out into Long Island City on the 7 line and you take it out to Flushing and you just watch and you listen for the languages and the different looks and appearances of people. Like that's magical.
Yeah.
And if you don't think it's magical, then you probably don't belong in New York City. But Queens, more than anywhere else in the 5 boroughs of New York, exemplify the best of what we have. And what better way to experience that than over a meal, food from some other country. So for instance, my son goes to school in Astoria, but his friends live all over Queens and the city, and their families are from other places. So there's the food that you were brought up on. Then there's the food that your parents love to go out for that's from some other place. And now my son is going out for all that with his buddies and the foods that they have learned about and they share with each other. I can't imagine what my son, your daughter, our friends' kids, the New Yorkers that they're going to be. Like, that's exciting.
It is.
And I want to be around to watch it. Okay, so I got a call last week from my son's buddy. Why is he calling me? My son's not home. Hey, Jonathan, we're in Flushing. Where's the best dumplings?
There you go.
And I'm like, all right, my job is done here.
Yeah.
That is what is so exciting about Queens: the people, the food, the culture.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes. And the traditions around consuming that food and that culture is such a beautiful and such a delicious part of life. And it's amazing the work you do. And I don't think I can sum it up better than that. So I will say, unless you have any.
I do. So
yes.
You didn't bring it up, but you and I met during COVID.
Yes.
When I was cold calling in 2020, looking for organizations around food, I didn't know who you were. I didn't know the Alliance. I wasn't in the restaurant business. It was separate and different what I was doing. So I was cold calling looking for money. And I forget your sales director at the time, but she's like, yeah, we really don't do that. But you probably want to talk to Andrew Ridgey. I'm like, who? And some point in early 2020, you and I got on the phone and we started talking about what we were doing. And I don't think we were able to meet for the first year or so, right? Because of the shutdown. But you started helping us. We were doing Zoom calls for restaurant owners. We had you on, along with Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney and all of these people to help our restaurants. So like you were helping people before we even got to sit down for a meal together. And you have become a really good friend to me. And I really value this because like, you're there for people. Not a lot of people say they're going to do something and then actually do it. And then just don't do it. You go in 1,000%. And that is what the Hospitality Alliance does. And of course, in all transparency, I'm on the board because I believe in what you do and I want to be part of it. But the work that you guys do has saved, I can't imagine how many businesses and helped them thrive. So, thank you.
You are very kind. It is one big, amazing community that does so much impactful work day after day after day. And it's about getting together, uniting, and yes, serving great meals, service, hospitality, but it's at the core of people's business and taking care of our neighbors. So,
that's right.
Big shout out, Queens Together, your events, all the great work that you do. And I think we will leave it at that because I'm sure we have some important, impactful work to go do. Yep. Jonathan Forgash, Queens Together. This is Hospitality and Politics, powered by the New York City Hospitality Alliance. We will talk to you soon. And go eat in Queens and go support Queens Together because they do such important and impactful work. So long.
So long.